So recently I was attending a webinar run by my dear friend Peter Thompson, and unashamedly I'm going to take a story he told and share it with you and give my take on it. So at the end of the session, Peter told a story about two frogs. Yeah, and these two frogs, they jumped into two separate buckets full of milk, and quite understandably they drank all the milk. Problem is, as they drank the milk, they went lower and lower towards the bottom of the bucket, and then what you found were two frogs that were A, out of their regular hopping distance, and B, full of milk. So they were kind of stuck in the bucket. Now, one frog, after a few kind of futile attempts, gave up and sadly perished in the bucket. But the other frog, she kept trying, wouldn't give up, kept persisting, even though it was against all odds. And eventually, after much effort and trying and repetition, it did what was supposedly not possible. It jumped out of the bucket. What's the difference between the two frogs? I'll tell you. The second frog was deaf. That's right. He couldn't hear the criticisms, the negatives, the limits that others were telling it. You can't do it. It's impossible. No frog has ever jumped that far. You've eaten too much. You'll never overcome it. But he didn't hear it. And that made me really think about the people in your life or in my life that are overly critical and are trying to keep you in the bucket. Tell you it's not possible. Tell you it's not worth it. Sure, it's good to have some reasonable, constructive advice. A, if you want it and ask for it. And B, if it's coming from a person whose advice you value and you trust in that advice. But we have way too many people that are telling us what's right and wrong, what's possible and not possible. And if we listen to that, like the first frog, it may just be that we start to believe it. And that will limit us in life, in the opportunities, in the abundance of chances out there for us to grow and learn and develop. So I'm off to be very selective about who I ask for advice and how I listen to that, and be very conscious of blocking or not listening to the advice, especially the criticisms and unfair kind of put downs or limitations that come from some people. How about you?